Season 2 of The Last of Us has begun. The first episode just premiered earlier, and in case you're wondering, this is how I'm going to cover this season for the next 7 weeks. I'm going to talk about it on a week-to-week basis almost immediately after the episode airs. If you've been on the channel before, then I think you have some idea of how these work. These are usually right out the gate, very unfiltered opinions about whatever you just watched. So I'm going to talk about this particular episode, the first one that just aired, and there will be spoilers in this video. You have been warned. Something you might not realize, by the way, the poster for part 2 has been here the entire time. So yeah, I haven't exactly kept it subtle that I am a big fan of the Last of Us franchise and just the shows and everything in general. So going into season 2, I was very excited. They have changed a few things, kind of, mainly just to expand on certain aspects of the game when it comes to certain characters who were only mentioned in passing, and now getting to see a lot more of them perhaps, or hear a lot more about them. It opens very differently. In the game, it opened with Joel telling Tommy about what happened at the hospital and saving Ellie. In here, we start off with Abby, played by Caitlin Dever, and the other Fireflies who are remaining, standing above basically a mass grave where they've just buried everyone who Joel mowed down. And if you've played the game, then you know why one of those people is very special to Abby. But since a lot of people have not played the games, perhaps, I won't get into that right now. But obviously she wants revenge and she's coming after Joel. Then we get to Jackson 5 years later. Ellie and Joel seem to have some kind of a strife between them. They're not really talking to each other, very much mirroring what the game did. We're introduced to Dina, played by Isabella Merced. Really liked her, by the way, in this. I think she played a really solid Dina, very much like the game version. Really did a great job bringing her to life. And that's something I do want to give a lot of credit to, because Craig Mazin, who's written and directed this episode, and he's also one of the showrunners, there's a lot of adherence to that material over here. There's a lot of stuff that they've pulled directly from there when it comes to visuals, when it comes to characters, and they haven't really missed a beat on all of that so far. Even when Jesse, played by Young Mazzino, shows up, it's like, yep, that's Jesse right there. And that's some really good stuff. And I really appreciate that, there is that effort that has been made. And when it comes to the set designs as well, when you see Jackson much more thriving now and still being built, and then you're recreating certain scenes from the games, like there's that supermarket scene when Ellie and Dina are out on patrol. They've done a pretty good job of recreating that while also adding a bit of a twist to it. I think that's some really solid stuff. And Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, both of them fantastic once again as Joel and Ellie. I really liked them in the first season. I think over here you're seeing that growth, especially when it comes to Ellie, because this is a very different version of the character you're about to see in this season. And you start to see glimmers of that in this episode, because clearly whatever is going on with her and Joel is not particularly great. And again, if you played the games, then you kind of have some idea as to what that is. But I'll get more into that when we get into the later episodes. And so most of this episode is basically like playing as an extended part of some stuff that was in the games. One addition that I really liked was Gail, played by Catherine O'Hara. She's a psychotherapist who was talking to Joel about what's going on with him. And there's a very cool connection in that she's also Eugene's wife. Now, if you played the games, then Eugene is someone who comes up, and he is someone who was also on patrol at one point of time. He's gone now, and he also happens to have a lot of weed on him. That's something that they make a hint about in this episode. I'm pretty sure you're going to see a little bit more of that soon. But I do like that addition to that, and it adds a level of heartbreak because you kind of get a sense as to what happened to Eugene and that Joel killed him. And it's very strongly implied that he might have been bitten, and in order to, stop him from getting infected, he got shot, which is also very sad to hear about. And she's using this also to try and open up, Joel, like, okay, I've told you my secret now, you tell me yours, and that I am very upset with you for the fact that you've done this. I understand it had to be done, but I hate you for that. But Joel can't really say it, and he basically just keeps it to, I saved her, and he walks away. And I like how they executed that aspect too. I liked Ellie and Dina's relationship over here, how they built on that, how they're starting to build on that. You know, the budding, from like friends to eventually becoming girlfriends. I really like that aspect of it too. And once you get to the supermarket, that whole sequence, I liked how they did the stalker. Now, this is something that in the games, if you played it, the stalkers are very, very creepy and even frustrating because you have to get through areas and you can't really see them and you don't know where they're coming from. And I say this as someone who's played the game multiple times as well. Depending on what mode you're playing it on, it becomes even more unpredictable. But in the case of this, I think they did a really good job of exploring just that, unexpectedness of the stalker and bringing that up to the council at Jackson, like, hey, this might be a new threat we need to look into. So I did really like that aspect of it too. And despite the fact that they are making the time jump over here, because we have gone from the beginning, which was taking place right after the first season's ending, into now the 5 year later jump, we are going to probably have some flashbacks, but we are getting a few more linear things over here. For example, we do get the party scene where it's New Year's Eve and all of the characters that we know are at this, big event. They're dancing around and having fun. And it leads to this now very famous scene where Dina and Ellie are dancing and they both, to just have a kiss for the first time. And it's a, beautiful moment. And the episode actually kind of ends there because around that time, Seth comes in and calls them a slur, and then Joel interjects and pushes him down, and that scene is really where it wraps up. But then you also see that Abby and the other WLF have arrived in the same area, and they're pretty close now. So it ends with that idea of Abby now coming for Joel. And well, if you played the games, very interesting stuff to come. Those who haven't, I'm very excited to see how those reactions are going to be. But overall, I really like this first episode. I'm very happy with how they've done this. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to adapt and expand on the games and, sort of tie things together in a very interesting way. I'm very excited to see the next 6 episodes, and I will cover them accordingly when we get to them. So let me know what you guys thought of episode 1 of The Last of Us Season 2. Looking forward to hearing those thoughts whenever you get a chance to see it. As always, if you like this, guys, please do subscribe. Thank you very much as always, and I hope you guys enjoy the show.